Welcome to Idiosyncratic Fables. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Idiosyncratic Fables, where my whole purpose is to create a platform where you are free to share whatever story is on your mind, whether it's a story about you, a story you've written, a story that happened to you, or even if it's just a funny joke, that'd be okay too. But ultimately, if you've been listening to the previous episodes, I want this to be a safe space for all stories, free of judgment, free of condemnation, and everything in between. For today's episode, I am so thrilled to have my friend with me, Morgan Strong Komnick. Now, Morgan and I originally met online. No, it's not what you're thinking. There's a website called Roll20, to where if you are a fan of tabletop RPGs, you can get together with your friends literally from anywhere across the globe and play things like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder and everything that that website has to offer. And you can just roll dice, have fun, create characters. It's all kinds of fun, and I love that this kind of thing exists. Well, with this particular adventure, well, it started in a audiobook group on Discord called the Audiobook Empire Tuesday nights. And it was a whole bunch of narrators and a few authors that got together and decided to create these characters and go on adventures. Now, if you're familiar with games like these, you're thinking to yourself, well, that sounds pretty cool. But you expand that because now you have people who write books who are used to creating characters for their books. So that whole creative juice flow is amplified. And now you have narrators in the fold who are used to portraying these characters. You combine those two in a TTRPG environment, and oh my goodness, so much fun. Of course, I can go on a long, long tangent about that just because I love it so much. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk to Morgan and have her share her side of the things, some of her interests, and maybe a story or two. Am I right, Morgan?
Yeah, if you would like.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for my friend, Morgan Strong Komnick. Morgan, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it very much. And I'm so used to calling you Freddie. This is kind of different.
It is a wee bit different, yes. Because my character, for the listeners out there, is a cleric, now war priest, known as Frederick the Just. And Morgan, your character?
I am Olympia Ormath. I am a bard tiefling, which is kind of like a demonic type humanoid creature. So I'm very sassy and fun, and I'm very fond of my Freddy Bear, as I call it. So she's based on Blanche from The Golden Girls, if you know that classic.
That I do. Got a lot of fond memories watching that show. They
Oh
don't
my
make
god.
comedy like that anymore.
No, that's my comfort show. I'll just put it on. And my husband's like, "You're watching that again?" I'm like, "Well, makes me happy."
So, from the wee bit of research that I've done, you are an author. How long have you been writing?
I've been published for 11 years now.
Ooh,
I've been writing poetry since I was in the 8th grade, had a fun class for that, had fantastic teachers growing up.
okay.
And then I've been writing stories since I was in ninth grade, a freshman. I had a very charismatic teacher, Mr. Banger. I dedicate a lot of works to him. He's some characters in my book. He's a big influence in my life. And he's just over the top, and he told me he was going to write a book, and I laughed at him, and I feel horrible for laughing at my instructor. I was a goody two shoes kid.
Oh, no.
I just he came in, just slammed the door. He was late to his own class. I said, "I'm going to write a book," and I just laughed. And him and my dad were friends. My dad was also a high school teacher.
Okay.
And he's like, you should be in my book, Morgan. And I'm like, well, if you can write a book, I'm going to try to write a book. And ta-da, the rest is history, as they say.
Well, fantastic.
Thank
What
you.
was the first book you ever wrote slash published?
It's called Spirit Vision. So back in the early Oz, as they say, books about spirits were really popular, and I've always kind of been fascinated with the world of the beyond, ghosts and spirits and things like that. And I
Sure.
also loved Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
So I combined kind of the interesting lore from Sonic the Hedgehog in my mind with spirits and added some romance and made my own fusion of things. And for some reason, it worked, and it got published a year after I got married. That was really fun.
That's really cool.
Thank
What
you.
process did you go through to get it published?
Um, Traditional route. So I went for agentquery.com, which is a fantastic resource, guys, if you're looking into getting your books published. It talks about agents from big companies to independent and what they're looking for, and if they're open for submissions, because they get flooded with thousands of inquiries monthly, and it's overwhelming. And they talk about how each cover letter needs to be addressed called a query letter, hence agentquery.com. And you just have to repeat that process and wait 3 months each for a rejection or a yes. I got 39 no's in 4 years, and my 40th was a yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's that's a whole level of persistence I haven't gotten to yet.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're going to get there. You're very
Yeah.
talented.
Thank you. So I am rewriting my first book. I say rewriting because the first actual book I started to write, I started way back in 2011 during the last few years of my Army career.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I've got this great idea for a book. It's going to be funny. It's going to be loaded with lots of small little quips to inside jokes. And I mainly want to see if people will pick up on them or not. It took me 9 years, I think, start to finish to complete the book, have a cover design for it, and then have it published through, Amazon on their Kindle Direct Publishing thing. And not only did it not sell well, but it was still ripe with all kinds of editing errors and grammatical errors. And also, prior to my career as an audiobook narrator, I had probably read maybe 10 books total in my entire life cover to cover. So I was not an avid reader and therefore didn't have enough knowledge base to be a writer, as they say.
Mhm.
It was horrible. It was a train wreck. And so I pulled it off the shelf.
I would call it a learning experience, personally.
That is definitely one way of
Yeah.
thinking about it, a learning experience. So I didn't throw away the manuscript. Like I said, just pulled it off the shelf and left it here on my desktop, staring at it going, what am I going to do with you? And then now that I've been narrating audiobooks for a little over 6 years, I've gone back and read it oh, wow, this, no, I can do so much better. Here's a spot where I can make this better. Here's where I can change this. And then I learned something about, present voice and past voice or active voice, passive voice, that kind of thing. It's like, that could be a deal breaker. And so I'm going back, changing a few character elements, changing some story elements, but a lot of the key factors that I want in there, minus the humor, are going to be in my new book.
Oh, I love that. I also love how you're talking about the relationship with your authors kind of helped you in your process. Because I can tell you, working with my audiobook narrators, I've also learned how to pace my own books better because I imagine I need it to flow not just for written word, but also for audio. And that's something
Okay.
I never thought about. So I've been taking that in my current writing into consideration. I think it's been helping me as well. And I hope it helps out with my audio readers and listeners too.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, you have been writing since 14. You published your first one. You said the year you got married?
The year after. So I was
Year
20,
after.
23. 23.
Okay. And you said you have 11 books published now, is that right?
10 currently. I'm working on 2 more manuscripts very slowly because I teach full time.
Ah, you teach full time. Tell me about that. How's that going?
It's going well. It's been my dream since I was small. I had very small cousins, and I've been the mother hen type my whole life. And I work for a small district about half an hour from where I live. They have 5 children's home facilities in that town. And we're the only one in the state that has a public school that allows kids kindergarten through 5th grade. My building's actually K for 12. And I teach K through 3rd grade in one room. All my kids are in foster facilities or children's home situations.
That is fantastic. So you went from small cousins to teaching essentially, kindergarten, like you said, up to 3rd grade. Was there like a in between stage where you were doing some research on what it would be like to be a teacher?
My father was a teacher for collectively 42 years. He was high school and college history. So I have a big love for history. But I knew high school kids would eat me alive. I always, well, I'm being honest. Plus, I like a lot of the similar things high school kids do. I'm just more mature.
Ah,
So,
there you go.
most days. So little kids just have this spark. They have this wonder and innocence and curiosity that just makes me so happy. And they are our future. Honestly, I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. So I love working with them and seeing their imagination come to life. And I can kind of be the connection to the world while still trying to keep their innocence and the you can do anything belief, because that's what I believe. If you want to be a ballerina superhero, I'm like, let's research how to be a ballerina superhero. And it's so much fun to do that. So with my father, I knew all of the secret woes of teaching that most bright-eyed future college teachers don't know.
Right.
Right. So I knew about the duties and the report cards and the administration and all that stuff as well. It's not just teaching, unfortunately. But I worked as a sub for about 5 years in my home district, and I have a big district. It's very competitive. And out of nowhere, my college professor, who gave me all A's, called his friend in this small town who needed a new kindergarten teacher. And I got hired, and I've been there for 9 years now. So I'm very blessed.
That is fantastic.
Thank you.
I think what I love most about it is that you said it was a group of, it was a foster community of
Yeah.
kids.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like the, I'm trying to think of a nice, polite way to put this, but it's almost like the unwanted are being taught.
Yeah. It's hard reading their backgrounds, where from, but you can't judge them on what their guardians did to them. And I'm glad that I have the younger ones. Not that all kids are special, and I love interacting with all of them. But
Sure.
at this age, they didn't know any better. Like what their guardians were doing was wrong, or
Right.
what they were taught was wrong. They just were like, this person's my parent. I'm supposed to trust them. So it's rebuilding kind of an outlook in the world and building that positive rapport that my boss is always wanting us to do. And I love that about my boss. He's like, relationships first, grade second. And I really enjoy that.
That is an excellent ideology to follow.
It is. And I'm glad I have that in my life.
Sure. What challenges do you face, or are you at liberty to talk about that?
I mean, typical, like you said, these kids are kids that struggle. So you're taking, and I don't mean to be negative as a teacher, but every class has a couple kids that, don't always listen. And you know what, the kids I'm talking about back in your day. So put them all in one classroom.
Gotcha.
So that can be challenging. But we always do safety first. So we have separate schedules. We have 3 different class schedules depending on what they can handle. And
Okay.
was to get them to improve to go longer hours. But if they're not successful at a full day and they're harming themselves or others, we're not going to push them. We're going to put them back to where they are successful and can reach their goal. So
Okay.
I have had things thrown at me. I've been in situations, but I imagine that parents go through things too. So
Yeah.
I don't mean that
Yeah.
negatively. Kids are just kids.
That's right. Kids are just kids,
They have
and
emotions.
as a father of 4,
Yes.
I can relate to a few similar instances.
Yep. You just got to them and love them, honestly.
That's right. That's right. Now, as the saying goes, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Would
Mhm.
you say that's true in your classroom?
Oh, absolutely. Just when they improve their behaviors or I see them get a concept, it just changes everything and it makes every hard day that much more worthwhile. So I'm so grateful to all my kids. I also do high school part time. I teach the anime club there, and that's its own reward too because I get to see these shy, nerdy kids get to get meet others like themselves and a teacher who understands their language, and I get to see them blossom as well too. So it's very rewarding.
Okay. Now, why anime? Of course, I know the answer, but the listeners don't.
I love anime. I'm an otaku through and through.
Well, now that's a new word for me. What does otaku mean?
Otaku is the word for basically a nerd of Japanese culture. In Japan,
Okay.
it's actually not a nice thing to say, but in the United States, we've made it like a almost like a badge of honor.
Oh,
Yes.
well then.
Yes. Yes. We're like, yeah, we're otakus. So we love anime, manga, cosplaying, culture. That's basically what that means.
Now, this next question may not be entirely fair. Which one is your favorite anime?
I have lots. I'm gonna have to be lame and say my first, but it's true. It's called Cardcaptor Sakura. And it's just this really sweet show with great lore and beautiful animation. It's about a little girl who has magical powers secretly, and these 57 or 52, sorry, 52 cards get released on the world could cause damage, and she has to capture them with a magic wand. And again, it sounds really cutesy, but it's got some great lore. It's got some beautiful depths of characters, and it's just really whimsical. I was 12 when it came out,
Okay.
and my brother was maybe 7. So we also bonded for like that, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, the Saturday morning WB. Uh,
Gotcha. Wow.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
really
When I was a kid, we didn't have Saturday morning WB. We just had
oh,
Saturday morning cartoons.
that's good too.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember the original lineup. Now, I may have it out of order, but it was Transformers, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, and then Voltron. And then after that, we would switch gears over to the Hanna-Barbera cartoons as far as Huckleberry Hound and the Flintstones and the Snorks and all that fun stuff. And then usually when Tom and Jerry was on, we knew it was about lunchtime and we had to get our butts outside, or mom would make sure we went outside.
No, I absolutely love that. I cherish those early Saturday mornings, and I wish I could get up that early and that bright eyed again.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. It's Saturday mornings now. I'm looking at the clock going, 8 o'clock is almost here. I get to sleep into 8:30. It's going to be great.
Right. And your body might let you if you're lucky.
Exactly.
I did adult life.
Oh, golly.
That's,
So, back to anime.
yeah.
Um, what was it that drew your attention to anime that just made your heart go, "I need more of that in my life"?
um, well, to be honest, there's a little show that I watched when I was 4. It came out. It was a big sensation called Power Rangers. Have you ever heard of that?
I'm a bit familiar. Yes, I was an avid fan for season 1.
Well, I that was my jam. And Miles, my little brother, was like just born a couple months prior. So we are Power Ranger kids. And I know it's not animated, but it's from Japan. And you just sense watching the season 1 fight scenes, which were filmed in Japan. There's
Oh.
something there's something different about this show. And even as a 4-year-old, I knew it was different than my other cartoons, and I was just into it. And I was a Power Ranger kid longer than it was cool. I used to get actually, well, in 4th grade, I got bullied for still liking it, but whatever. I didn't
Oh,
care.
no.
Yeah, kids are mean sometimes, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then in 5th grade, this new thing came out, and I didn't want to watch it because I didn't want to be like everybody else. It's called Pokemon. I actually
Mm.
refused to watch it for a long time because I thought it was cool at 11. um, and I accidentally watched it one day. I didn't. It was like the end of an episode, a couple minutes, and I'm like, this is awesome. And then I saw the logo. I'm like, oh shoot, I watched Pokemon. And now I'm a huge Poke nerd, and I think I've lasted with it longer than any of my classmates or friends.
Oh,
Which,
wow.
yeah, fantastic. And then Yu-Gi-Oh came out, and Card Captors was the first one that I realized, okay, wait, they have like big eyes, they're very expressive, they have beautiful costumes, fun stories. I'm like, this type of cartoon's different. So I asked my mom to get on my dial-up internet at my house and do some research on card captors, and I found out it was something called anime. And I just went down a rabbit hole at 12 years old, and I never looked back. It's one of the best decisions of my life.
That's so cool. Would you say your love of anime inspired your writing?
Absolutely. I have so many people tell me I either write like it's an anime episode or I should turn it into an anime episode. And I'm like,
Ah.
that second one. At least,
Now, you mentioned that a lot of your books have elements of romance in them.
yes.
What to what degree is the romance spice level factor, I guess, like or age appropriateness, we'll put it that way.
Spirit Vision is 13. It's young adult. It's very, I mean, there's a few like there might be kissing or something, but nothing astronomical. I used to sub at the middle school, so I wrote, so it was appropriate for their age group.
Okay.
And then when I went to Hunter and Bringer, I just wanted to try something different. So I went to maybe new adult, which is college age.
Mhm.
That's 17 plus. So it is a little spicy, but it's nothing that a college kid couldn't handle. Of course, what kids watch nowadays is probably tame, to be honest. Like, I mean, I like Game of Thrones alone. I'm like, oh, mine's not that bad.
Well, there you go.
I am working on some more mature, spicy content with some other authors that's coming soon. I can't say too much about it, but I'm really stoked about that. And I think my narrators kind of inspired me to take that plunge and see if I could do it. And we'll see how it goes.
Well, fantastic. Keep me posted on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I will give hints. It's about a pirate and a Viking falling in love.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the combination that people would, think of right off the bat,
Right.
but that's got potential.
Thank you.
Interesting.
The other people in our project, we almost do like mini D&D sessions together. Like we throw each other a situation, you have to respond, and if it's good enough, we put it in the book. So it's a lot of it's
That's
re-
awesome.
it's really fun. And I like what you're talking about with Pathfinder. It's interesting because I love making characters, and you get attached to them as an author. So when our wonderful dungeon master Neil throws situations trying to, I think, kill my character, I'm very protective.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
whereas a casual player is like, oh, it's fine, I'll make another one. I'm like, but.
But that one has so much personality, he
See,
can't die.
you get it. Most of my
I
friends,
do.
let it go. It's
Right.
my baby.
One of the things I struggle with, though, when it comes to, either losing a character or having it die, my DM brain also comes into play because I've been,
Sure.
dungeon mastering for years and years.
Yeah.
And I'm so used to creating all of these NPCs knowing that they have death potentially within the next scene. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not too concerned about their well-being. I
Sure.
just need them as either A, cannon fodder, B, a placeholder, or C, the big bad evil guy,
Yeah.
knowing that they're all going to die, or even, the barmaid. I'll even roll up stats for her in case one of the players decides to get squirrely and,
Yeah.
throw a bar stool.
Oh my gosh. I'm a dungeon master as well. I have been for about 4 years. So my own homebrew, which was a
Okay.
lot. And I did like a milkmaid character. It's funny you said that, just to welcome them into the town. And one of my friends decided she wanted to fall in love with this character, and I had to give her a stats and a backstory on the spot. She became a major player in this arc that we did. So
Oh, wow.
understand completely.
That is fantastic.
I was like,
What
it's funny.
unfortunately, we are just about out of time, and we didn't get
Sure.
to any of live readings of your stories that we had talked about backstage.
Oh, that's all right.
So we'll have to plan a second one. Darn.
If you want me back, I was delighted.
I would love to have you back.
Well, thank you.
So, for all of the listeners out there that are listening to us go back and forth and just being silly, being nerdy, being goofy, but talk about, our passions for anime, for Pokemon, for writing, for children and the teaching thereof. If you're saying to yourself, I need to know more about Morgan, Morgan, where's the best place they can go find you online?
I have a website, which is morganscomnic.com. And I am on Facebook, Instagram, the Tick of Talk, whatever.
Ah,
Yeah, that's very new. I'm slowly learning how to make videos on Canva with an author friend, but I appreciate that.
okay.
Of course, I'm on major booksellers, Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, Smashwords, Audible. I have 6 books on Audible, which is really exciting.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Kobo. I think Apple Music, the Apple Read app. I remember the name of that. So I
I
read,
don't know.
yeah, that one. I keep changing the name.
I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm everywhere. You can do Morgan Comnic, Morgan Strong Comnic, Morgan S Comnic, and I do lots of nerdy things on my website. So I do one author thing a month and one nerdy thing a month because I want you to realize I'm not here just to sell you something. I'm here to perk your interest and show you I'm a person and then sell you something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I learned that from another author, and it's really fun to make that connection with readers.
That's really cool.
Thank
Really,
you.
really cool. Thank you so much for your time today and for your willingness to be a part of the show.
Well, thank you, James/Frederick the Just. I greatly it. It's quite an
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun.
yeah.
And thank you, dear listener, once again for tuning in to listen to the show. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. And again, if you want to be a part of the show, all you have to do is send me an email because at the end of the day, everybody's got a story to tell, and I want to hear yours. And so until then, peace be with you.